I hate to tell you this, but I just want to reiterate to people, you can't just say cliches like crime is everywhere, or I'm just going to go in a small town and it's going to be safer, nothing ever happens, just all of these things that people say. You need to understand the general idea of the difference between where you're from and where you're going. And that's what it comes down to, having a good grasp of the differences in how to stay out of that category that gets targeted. Just want to show you something real quick. Look at how good those drawings are. Can you believe that? That's from a 3-year-old. That's pretty amazing. Guess which 3-year-old did that? Me. Hello, welcome to Frank and Angie's channel, where we discuss the retire early lifestyle, whether it's at home or abroad. Thanks for coming to our channel. All right, as far as the expat couple, I hate to see this kind of news, and I do think that people just need to understand what they're getting into. The thing is that we've actually been talking about these things ever since we've been abroad, or went abroad rather, 10 years ago, 10 whole years ago, and we wrote a book called Discover Cuenca Landing Guide, and it was really, it was a half and half book where, you know, half the stuff was about landing in Cuenca, Ecuador, and doing it right, and the other part of it was really could be used anywhere, in any country. So, but part of that was safety, and in that book we talked a lot about the differences between the outlook in life and the way different cultures like North American culture and South American culture view things and do things. So, and one of those concepts, because it does come down to concepts, because if you start just talking about the little details of it, people will be like, oh yeah, I know, be careful, there's crime everywhere. But what it comes down to is having a firm grasp and understanding of the general idea. And the general idea is, when I say these concepts are cultural, they're really universal. They're not really cultural. It's just that the North American culture hasn't embraced these concepts and ideas fully. I know that they have embraced them somewhat, but they have a long ways to go. So you get this kind of thinking from the foreigners that seems to want to sweep things under the rug and kind of minimize things, whereas in South America, they know better. And actually, it was before we even left the States that I was doing my recognizance, and I was talking to a South American woman out in Uruguay, and she spoke English, and she had been to the States and all, and she told me then, in America, North America, people show off their wealth. And this stems from the, you know, from the old days in the 70s and the 80s and the, you know, in the 90s. They say they show off their wealth. They show, like, for example, when you go, and well, you see that now on YouTube. You see all these people like Graham Stephan, and you see these people. It's all about how much money they got, how much money they make, and that's what impresses people. But in South America, wealthy people, or any people actually, even if you're not wealthy, just having the appearance of being wealthy, but you're not, can get you into trouble. And so she said that in South America it's the complete opposite. People keep a low profile. And so I'm saying that it applies to anyone, whether it's a wealthy person or a non-wealthy person. It's just in general, being a foreigner, you already stand out as a foreigner. So you could be a foreigner of small means, like on a small Social Security check, but because you're a foreigner, it is all automatically assumed that you're in the wealthy category. So I'm just saying here, this conversation is not about just wealthy folks and millionaires. It's about everyone, all foreigners, whatever station in life, it's very easy to fall into that category that gets targeted. You know, and this is one of the things that we said in our book, was that I noticed that a lot of the foreigners that were coming down here even though we made videos saying that on our bucket list was to become more active, and meaning that we didn't want the sedentary vehicle car lifestyle, because we had that in the States. So we came down here and we embraced and welcomed the car-free lifestyle. But what we saw is that just a large number of the foreigners came down here and spent big bucks on vehicles. The vehicles here are way more expensive than in the States. You can get vehicles in the States, and incidentally in Panama, for a lot less money than you can in Ecuador. You know, they don't even let you import. Now, I don't know if some of these regulations have changed at all recently, but it used to be that they don't even let you import any vehicle that's older than just a few years old. The point is that a lot of these foreigners that were coming here, supposedly to the, I've said this before, Retire Abroad Media Magazine, best place to retire on a budget, right? And yet these people were coming down here and spending, 60 grand on a car. And therefore, I used to say that those of us on small means get profiled and get categorized as those, to be in the same category as those expats that come down and throw all this money around. Now, to each his own. I'm not judging people that want to buy a car. It's just that in a place like this, you don't need a car. But hey, you want a car, go get the car. But the thing is that you're not keeping a low profile, and in essence, you're a target. And that brings me to this San Diego couple that was found dead, and this was in a very small Mexican town. The interesting thing is that they were in their 70s. They were a mature couple, and the thing is that they were not newbie travelers. That's the thing I want you to understand, that this wasn't the first time that they had traveled. They traveled back and forth actually over a period of, I don't know, 10 or 20 years. I don't remember how long, but they were in a very small town. So they weren't in this big, huge, dangerous metropolis. They were in a tiny, small town right near the coast, just tranquil little setting and like this. But because of their vehicle, and you know it was because of their vehicle, because the murderer stole their vehicle, and that's what he did it for. So he killed two people because they didn't understand. Even though they traveled back and forth from the States for all those years, they were considered experienced travelers. And as experienced as you think that they're telling you that they are in this article, and yet they weren't so experienced that they didn't understand that they were in a poor village and that they had a car that was probably worth, 10 or 20 years worth of local salary. So people don't think about these things, and they think they're experienced just because they've been traveling a long time. That's not what makes you experienced. It's what you know. It's not how long you've been somewhere or how long you've been doing it. You can do the same thing over and over and not learn anything. That's why we put together a membership group where you get all the ins and outs of how we've been doing things and how we do things and how we look at things. But I wanted you to know in this video that they were considered experienced travelers. They'd been doing it for many, many, many years, and they were in a tranquil little Mexican town, and even so, somebody decided that their car was worth killing them over. So I hate to tell you this, but I just want to reiterate to people that you have to think in certain ways. You can't just say cliches like crime is everywhere, or I'm just going to go in a small town and it's going to be safer, nothing ever happens, just all of these things that people say. You need to understand the general idea of the difference between where you're from and where you're going. And that's what it comes down to, having a good grasp of the differences in how to stay out of that category that gets targeted, regardless whether you're at small means, because these people, maybe they were super wealthy, maybe they weren't, but just the fact that they had a vehicle put them in that category of people that were targeted for violent crime. It's murder. I've had people say, I watch your videos and I enjoy your videos, but I really have a difficult time to keep watching your videos. And that's because the truth sometimes can hurt, but it doesn't have to hurt. That's really the purpose of my video, is to inform you to such an extent that you become a smarter traveler, a better traveler, a really experienced traveler, not just because you came down and you've been doing this for so many years, because had they really understood the differences in culture, you know, we warned people and told them, don't, you know, all these things, all these little details, but there they are with an expensive car standing out. So, and I don't know, it could be that by US standards the car really wasn't all that expensive, but that isn't the point now, is it? We're not talking about by US standards, which is another thing that I see a lot in expat circles, is people saying, well, by US standards it's cheap. Excuse me, that's not how you do it. So, but we show people exactly how to do things and exactly how to execute the things and what to know, how to know it and how to do it in our membership group, something for you to consider. And so thank you for staying with me on this video, and I hope I've inspired you to understand that there's things to know about the differences between cultures that can make your life better and easier or not. Thanks again and have a nice day.